I was doing Kate's Press right here, the Westin Wilson, who picked up a first round submission at XMMA 4. Weston, how are you, man?
Good. How's it going, Alex?
Good, man. I'm good. I'm happy to be talking with you, man. So it's been 3 days since your fight. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I feel great. Really didn't take any damage. The worst thing that happened in the fight was a little shin to shin action, and that was it. So I was back teaching and training on Monday, um, and back in, training as if I'm going to be fighting next week if I could.
Awesome. That's awesome to hear. I mean, have you had a chance to watch your? I mean, it wasn't very long, but have you had a chance to watch your fight? And how did you feel about your performance?
Yeah, we went back, we watched the fight. We had some notes of some stuff we're gonna work on. Everything went as planned. I mean, we didn't really have like a plan going into it, but it was short notice. Like it was 2 weeks. Like the whole month of March, like we were trying to get a fight, and I had like 3 fights booked, and 3 times on fight week or fight day or on weigh-ins, like my opponent would pull out or back out. So like it was just constant up and down roller coaster all month. So when this one actually stuck, I was like I already had a vacation booked and planned for my kids and my wife. And so I was like, well, I'm gonna go on vacation and fight anyways. Let's see what happens. And so being able to get in and get out in less than 2 minutes is always, great, especially when you get to demonstrate all of your skills, your striking, your grappling, your jujitsu, like all of it, all in 2 minutes. You can't be disappointed.
Um, I've heard you say that you like short notice fights. Why is that?
Um, there's whenever I have a long camp and a long fight, like all I'm doing is thinking about that opponent, and I just overanalysis to paralysis. Like I like I try to not let myself watch too much footage on my opponents, but you start like you'd be sitting there watching TV or whatever, and then you're like, well, let me see some more footage of my opponent real quick, and you start like over analyzing. So I've been doing this for over 10 years now. Like I know how to fight, so I just need to have an idea of what they like and what they do, and I can solve the rest. Because they have to account for me, and at 145 pounds, being 6'1", and yeah, there's a lot of footage on me in MMA, but I really haven't demonstrated like my whole arsenals because I haven't been in a dogfight in so long that there's not a lot that you can film study all you want on me. There's just not a lot that you're gonna be able to plan for.
Gotcha, gotcha. Um, you kept your 100% finish streak. How important is that to you?
Well, I've got 2 decision losses, so obviously it's not 100%. But yeah, in my 2 decision losses, by the way, I don't think they were actually decision losses. I felt like I actually won those fights, but it is what it is. Yeah, it's important now, I guess, like to see how many times I can finish. And it's always good when you got somebody who is hyped like him. And, they kept telling me backstage, like, oh, this guy's really hyped by Tim Credor and Dustin Poirier. Like, he's supposed to be like the next big thing. I guess AJ Fletcher's out of their gym. And I was like, cool, cool, cool. He just knocked out a tough vet, Ty Clark. I was like, yeah, all right, whatever, and it's supposed to be super athletic and a dog. And I mean, I put him out in 2 minutes and didn't break a sweat. So, like, and I'm like all these guys, and I keep thinking to myself, like, man, am I just lucky? Like, because there's that kid who's doing really well in LFA right now, Javier Garcia. I only person to finish him inside of a round. And so I'm like, I'm either that good or I'm just that lucky, but I don't know. It's one or the other. Like like most of me thinks I'm just lucky.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah. So before we talk about what's next, man, for anyone that doesn't know your story, how did you get into mixed martial arts almost 10 years ago? I mean, more than 10 years ago.
So I was like a young kid. I'm 33. I saw my first UFC event or like tapes when I was a kid. I had my dad's office. My dad worked for the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration. And so in the summer times, I'd go and hang out in his office with all the agents. And there's a guy, Jim Waddell, he'd be like, "Oh, you guys got to check this out, man. This MMA thing's wild." And so I was watching Tito Ortiz versus Evan Tanner when he slammed him, and like Tank Abbott and all those guys. And I was like, man, that's cool. And I was a small, really, really small kid for my age. And I was like, that would be cool to do that one day. And so then when we moved, fast forward, I was wrestling in high school and was on, nationally ranked team. We were going all over the nation, all year round program. And plan was to wrestle in college and had scouts and recruiters and stuff like that. And then my senior year, my dad's like, "Hey, we're moving to Brazil." And I was like, "Oh, so no more wrestling." And he's like, "But you can start MMA." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So like I went to Brazilian top team back in 2006 when Anderson was there and all these guys, and I'll just get the crap kicked out of me by these grown-ups. Only time I've ever been cut in MMA was actually as a kid in Brazil. I've never had a cut on my face my whole career, but only one time I took an elbow and sliced open my eyebrow when I was a kid. And I remember like my first fight in Brazil. It was a Muay Thai tournament, and they called me to the ring, and they were like, "All right, Westin Wilson, you're gonna be in ring 2." And I'm standing across from the guy. It's this big black Brazilian guy who's like 6'3", 220 pounds. I'm 150 pounds. And I'm like, there's no way he's in the same weight class. He's just beating on me for like 90 seconds. And I'm like thinking to myself, like, this sucks. Like, what did I get myself into? I don't want to be a fighter anymore. And they stopped the fight. And I'm like, whew, man, thank heavens the fight's over. Like, oh, sorry, that's the wrong ring. You're in this ring over here. And I'm like, oh, okay, that guy's my size. So I knocked him out, Oh, and they didn't give me any time either. They were like, "You got 30 seconds to meet the bell or you're disqualified." And I was like, "Oh, shoot, okay." So I'm like running over there after getting pounded for, a whole minute and a half. And I knocked that dude out. And then I go to the finals or the semifinals, and the guy hits me, like just straight kicks me in the groin twice. And they give me two standing 8 counts, and then also took a point away from me after I got hit in the groin. This is typical Brazil, So I get kicked in the groin, they take a point away and give me standing 8 counts. And then I end up knocking him out, and they go to judge the scorecard, and I lose. And so then the kid who won the tournament for my weight class didn't even fight. He just got a bye into the finals and didn't even fight.
That is nuts.
But I've been hooked ever since, I've been hooked ever since. So I started down in Brazil doing jiu-jitsu and kickboxing, Muay Thai, and since I was 17 years old, and haven't looked back. I took a 4-year gap. I served a LDS mission, Mormon mission, and 2 years of college. And then 2 years into college, I was like, all right, I got college under my belt. Like I kind of know what I'm doing now, so I'm going to get back to fighting. And so, been fighting ever since.
When did you leave Brazil and come back to the States?
I left in 2008. I returned back from my mission to Brazil in 2010, was in Brazil for a month, and then I went back to the States August 2010 and went to BYU in Utah.
Awesome. How'd you end up with at Upstate Karate?
So I work in software. So I was, my career's kind of take me different places. So I was in California, working for a company. and they have an office in Greenville. I was going out there, a couple times a year to train. And so that's when I synced up with, like, was 4 years ago. I synced up with Wonder Boy and Coach T, Ray Thompson, Wonder Boy's dad. And I was going in, a week at a time for work, and I was looking for every excuse to come out there for work. But it was training also, like in California, I was training with Raymond Daniels and jujitsu, like one of the best jujitsu coaches in MMA, Jiva Santana. And so, like, I had a great camp and team out there, but I just really hit it off with Coach T. Every time I was out there, like, he and I would hit off really well, and Wonder Boy and I, worked really, really well together. So work gave me the option to move out there, because it's just way cheaper to live and everything else. So I moved out there. I moved out here to Greenville 2.5 years ago. And when I moved out here, I was on a 2-fight losing streak, and I sat down, and Coach T and we had a long talk about, like, a few things. It's like, I have all the skills. It's just mental, man. Like, I mentally freeze in there, and I don't know what it is. And so we were able to address, like, a lot of the mental that went into it. And I mean, I'm 6-1 with him, under him. We worked on a few things, timing things, distance things, and really just helped me build that self-confidence. And I mean, working with Wonder Boy and Chris Weidman comes down frequently too, and seeing them, and like, that really helped me believe myself when it's like, oh, I'm doing pretty good. I'm hitting guys that don't get hit. I'm hanging with Chris Weidman on the ground. But when he does want to smash me, he smashes me. Like, that dude on the ground is probably one of the best grapplers I've ever grappled.
What were some of the mental things that Coach T kind of helped you get through?
So one of the very first talks we had, he said, there's only two things you should be afraid of. You don't have the technique, or you don't have the cardio. He said, but you've shown in here you have the technique, and you've shown in here you have the cardio. So those are the only two ways you're going to get your butt kicked in the cage, or the guy's just flat out better than you. He's like, but you have great technique, you have great cardio, you have nothing to be afraid of in that cage. And that's it, and so, like, when he said that, like, as simple as that, I was like, huh, yeah, that is, those are, like, the only two things that you have to be afraid of, is that your technique sucks or your cardio sucks. As long as that's fine, and then you've got nothing to worry about in the cage. Like, if you lose and you have great cardio and great technique, the guy is just better than you, or he just caught you, like, that's it. Like, there's nothing else to fret about.
Interesting. That's I mean, it makes sense. It totally makes sense to me. Cool. Well, finally, man, well, actually, how frustrating has it been not being able to get regional fights? Like, just like you said earlier, like, guys just back out last minute. Just how frustrating has that been?
Yeah, I get it. Like, this sport, there's a lot, that goes into this sport. And, I was just thinking about this today, is there's really two paths for a fighter, is for promotion to, like, really try to take you on. Is A, you have a big fan base and you're going to sell a lot of tickets, you're going to make the promotion a lot of money. Or B, this is the road less traveled, is you have something else that the promotion needs. So for me, I work in business, I work in software, I'm very smart outside of the cage when it comes to street smarts. So I started getting leverage for myself outside of the fans and selling tickets and everything else. I started businesses that the promoters needed. So I started a live streaming service and other things. So then I was able to leverage that on top of my services as a fighter. And so I was able to, through the pandemic, really build my career and record and revitalize myself with this new, strategy. And so I've got a lot of promoters that, like, kind of got behind me and helped me. But at the same time, like, it's really hard for, somebody else. Like, knowing that, like, oh, these promoters are backing this kid. So this is why I like XMMA, because it's equal. They're just taking two fighters on the same level and putting them together. And so yeah, it's extremely frustrating when you're getting ready for a fight and you get that call, hey, they're not coming, or hey, they're backing out, because you put a lot of time and money into it, and it's just basically like throwing money down the drain at that point.
All right. So finally, man, what do you want? What do you want next? Like, what do you want the rest of your 2022 to look like? Do you want, I guess you want to fight for XMMA again for their fifth card? Do you want to get a call from a bigger promotion? Do you want to get on the contender series that's coming back in July? Like, what's
Yeah. I talked to Coach T and management and things like that. Like, I definitely know I can compete with a lot of that lower level in the 145 division and build my way up in the UFC. So like, I mean, definitely I want that stage to prove how good I am. Not only to myself, but everybody else. So ultimately, I like the UFC. Like, I know I could make weight on short notice and be there for a short notice call. If it takes me going through the contender series, we'll go through the contender series. If I get overlooked because of my age and record for contenders, well, shoot, I'll keep working for XMMA. They treat me really well, and we've got a great relationship. And I was able to kind of, they're all businessmen at the end of the day too. So we were able to kind of like trade stories of working the business. And so I like the guys at XMA, and I'm more than happy to fight on their next card. I think they announced it was going to be in Greenville, which is my hometown. So any hometown fight's always great, especially when you've got such an awesome team like Upstate Karate. We've got awesome, atmosphere, and the school is massive, and there's so many like fans that support the fighters there and things like that. Like, so it's always great to be able to fight in front of them and you know, get to express myself in front of them in the cage, and be able to let them know after the fight in person, the gratitude I have for them and their support. And the Thompsons have really built a great martial arts community in the upstate Carolinas. And it shows, I mean, they've been at it for 39 years, I think, is how long Upstate Karate's been a school. And they've got a very loyal fan base. I'm one of them, that will ride or die with the Thompsons. So they're just amazing people, amazing school, and they've got a great community, and that community has luckily adopted me in as well as an outsider, especially, moving from California. We're not really well liked in the Carolinas right now because we keep coming in and buying up all the houses. But they took me in, and I came in right before that rush. So like, screw those California guys. No, but no, it's awesome. I love the Thompsons. I love Upstate Karate, and my styles mesh really well with them. So
I get what you're saying, because I'm in California, moving to Vegas very soon, and I get the same treatment. So
yeah, no, we all do. I mean,
yeah, no, for sure. Awesome.
America hates us right now because we keep like going in and causing like the freaking inflation rates of that state to just skyrocket. And we're like, oh man, it's so much cheaper than what we were paying.
Yeah. Oh man, that's hilarious. Weston, thank you so much for your time, man. I really appreciate it. If you want to plug your social media, want to plug any sponsors you got, you want to thank anybody, the floor is yours.
Yeah, man. You can give me a follow at Westin Wilson, WESTIN. And sponsors wise, Utah Air Guns, great company. Justin Jacobson, the owner, awesome, supported me since day one. Vital Proteins or Vital Performance, they helped me out a bit as well. And of course, Upstate Karate, Ray Thompson, Coach Davini, Wonder Boy, Coach Brad, all these guys, been awesome. And all my teammates, Sweeney, my teammate, also fought on the card with me, where we are both 2-0 on XMMA. So give him a follow as well.